Democrats don't want to deport violent felons who are here illegally in our prison system. So if we were able to find common ground on that, then we could have that conversation. But until the left moves our way, I'm just going to be critical because I don't like commies.
So Piers Morgan just confronted a Trump supporter about free speech and immigration enforcement. And what emerges validates exactly what conservatives have been saying about selective enforcement and campus authoritarianism. We're seeing the breakdown of institutional neutrality in real time.
Of course, the government has the right to do it. And I understand that you guys have a different standard than the United States. Freedom of speech this is really the only place where it's enshrined into our Constitution as an absolute. I know we share some views there and differ a little bit. The United States, we had this conversation stateside where they said you can't revoke, visas for students who are here, supporting Hamas,
right,
chanting from the river to the sea. Well, the truth is, in many countries, you're not allowed to show up to a government protest at all. For example, if you do that in Korea or Japan. The UK, though, has a different standard. It's speech that they don't like. It's not about speaking out against the government. It's not about being a part of a terror cell. And that just doesn't sit well with me.
He's absolutely right about American exceptionalism on speech. The First Amendment's "Congress shall make no law" language is unique globally. Even our closest allies like the UK arrest people for social media posts. Over 3,300 speech-related arrests there in 2023 alone.
And if we're going to correct the problem, the reason I'm here is to talk about a free speech issue here in the United States on campus, and these schools are federally subsidized. Offensive speech is not the standard. Here, it has never been the standard. Someone saying, "I hate America, death to America," or showing in perpetuity that they're incompatible with a country to which they want to be welcome, we shouldn't welcome them. That's different from someone saying something that's offensive. For example, someone in the UK being fined or jailed for saying Islam.
This federal funding angle is crucial. Universities taking taxpayer money while suppressing speech creates a constitutional violation. The distinction between offensive speech and advocating incompatibility with American values is legally sound. Courts have upheld this standard repeatedly.
She should be, but she's not, because that's something that the Democrats embrace. I mean, you're talking about a party where the former vice president, Joe Biden, said that he thought it was an act of evil for parents to not affirm their child's transition. So shouting some bullshit talking points, forgive me, about patriarchy really isn't gonna hackle anybody's feathers. I will say this. She makes a good case for her household voting, 1 vote per household. And when she says rights, what rights are being trampled on? When people talk about the patriarchy, can they explain to me what they mean by patriarchy? When they talk about the straitjacket of femininity, I'm sure you had, I don't know what term you use, grandma, or do you use, what's the term that you guys use in the UK, generally speaking?
Grandma, yeah.
Okay, grandma. Most of the time when you look at a woman who you really admired and you say, they don't make them like that anymore, incredibly feminine, and ironically, was a matriarch, wasn't she?
Yes.
But no one said she has job stability. They said she made the house a home, hearth and home. Everyone wanted to be at grandma's house because everyone felt safe and everyone felt nurtured. And that is something that has been shunned by feminism, by the way, at their own peril. If you want to look for the root evils that plague most of modern society, look at feminism in the 1960s. And
Biden actually said in 2022 that state laws protecting parental rights and gender transitions were sinful. The traditional matriarch model he describes built stable societies for millennia. Census data shows single motherhood rates jumped from 5% in 1960 to 23% today, exactly when feminism redefined family roles.
She says something so mind-numbingly stupid because she's a feminist lesbian in a boys' cut who's never been held accountable. You could ask her one question. What science says you can be born into the wrong body? It doesn't exist. Every study we've conducted shows the opposite. I'll give you 2 more case studies. My sound guy, Billy, by his sophomore year in high school, we found out he was a D1 athlete, swimmer. You wouldn't know it to look at him. He would have literally broken every senior female's record, would have beaten every single Olympian in that pool, and he was a chain smoker. Leah Thomas went from rank 500 and something to number 1. And of course, we know that that obviously is in line with bone density, with lung capacity, with muscle mass, with hormones. You go to UPenn, by the way, Leah Thomas, and that's where I was supposed to be speaking this Friday, a debate with a professor. We put up the money. We said their rules, their moderators. They said you can't live stream. They changed the rules last second. We went through this whole saga if we want to discuss it. The women came forward. I believe it was 16 women. Someone can fact check me. I think it was 16 came forward and said, hey, we're uncomfortable with the, if I may say, the cock and balls in the locker room. It's making us uncomfortable. It wasn't even related to the medals. Did they run an investigation? No. They sent them to the counselor, which, by the way, happened to be at the LGBTQ Center for effectively re-education.
Leah Thomas dropped from 554th nationally to first place overnight, biologically impossible without male physiology. The counseling he mentions is textbook ideological re-education. Penn sent those female swimmers to LGBTQ sensitivity training instead of investigating their legitimate safety concerns.
I don't believe the left is a monster, a Frankenstein monster created from different parts of moral relativism. That's the only way that you get gays for Palestine, and it's the only way that you get feminists for men beating the crap out of them in women's sports. It's
but
because their loyalty is to Marxism.
What's extraordinary is if you go back to the most successful Democrats of, let's say the last 30, 40 years, Bill Clinton and Obama, they have repeatedly warned the Democratic Party not to go down these hard left woke rabbit holes of issues like the trans issue, because they can see how preposterous it is to deny actual science. Why is the penny not dropping with Democrats? Why are they still trying to cling on? Why are people like Megan Rapinoe, who presumably would like her side to win power to effect the changes she wants?
The Marxist analysis is spot on. Classical Marxism required abandoning individual judgment for party loyalty. Today's progressive coalition demands the same, explaining why feminists defend biological males in women's sports and why Queers for Palestine exists, despite Hamas executing homosexuals.
So it's actually 10 years in the making, 10 schools, $10,000. When I started to change my mind, we always invite, this is kind of the first time someone did that on campus, we invited professors out. They were more interested in banning us. We've been repeatedly trying to communicate with them, but they've called the campus police to remove us. So we issued a call out to 10 schools, 8 Ivy League, said send anyone from the humanities program, poli, sci, philosophy. Obviously, I'm not going to argue geothermal regulation with a geologist. We said, you pick the moderator, you pick the rules, we'll come to your home turf. We'll even give $10,000 to the department of your choice. We're just going to live stream it. So easy that a college dropout comedian host can do it. Was agreed upon. We live stream every day, as you well know. Then they let us know. They even actually sent us the costs, the riders for us to bring our own live streaming equipment. They said, no, we're not going to allow it. And I just got an update just right before coming on here. They said it's due to safety. So if I was a jazz musician, I could live stream it. If it was some other form of performing arts, but a transparent debate that would be respectful between one of their professors and someone fronting $10,000, many more when you take into account security, that can't happen. That can't happen on campus.
$10,000, home field advantage, they're moderators, and they still won't debate. This exposes academic cowardice perfectly. They'll live stream concerts, but not intellectual discourse because their ideas can't withstand scrutiny. It's ideological protectionism masquerading as safety concerns.
94% of all political dollars given from those in academia, there's a study out there, over 400,000 donations were examined in higher education. 94 cents out of every dollar goes directly to the Democrat Party. You wouldn't get that kind of a political split in San Francisco. Is it by design or is it just by happenstance? Going through it now, and this is not the first time, I would say that it's by design. And they don't seem to give a rat's ass about intellectual diversity on campus, so long as, you identify with the right gender, you meet a racial quota, and that's no way to run a country, and it's no way to establish a place of higher learning.
94% is statistically impossible without systematic exclusion. Even Cuba's Communist Party doesn't achieve those numbers. This isn't coincidence. It's ideological hiring creating intellectual monocultures. No wonder graduates can't handle competing ideas when they've never encountered them.